Hey friends, Jessie here. I know it's been a while since I put a yoga video up. If you don't already know this, I think I've talked about this on the channel, on my YouTube page and stuff, but I am pregnant. I'm 27 weeks pregnant right now, so um, I am slowing down, and it's been really hard for me to slow down. I'm a person that likes to push, try, explore, expand. And right now, all of my expansion is kind of going in one direction. And things like my yoga practice and specifically my yoga teaching practice have slowed down considerably. So I just wanted to first say hi and thank you all for um, being with me in spirit, and hopefully the videos that are already up on the page have been beneficial to you, um, and will be beneficial to you while I continue to grow this baby and then eventually have this baby and then have a baby. Um, so I wanted to pop on and offer a little practice around feeling stuck and around uh, feeling stuck specifically in limitations or in slowing down. So, if you want to get into a comfortable seat, we're going to do some contemplative, meditative practices, some easy stretching, and then we're just going to take a little rest. So, nothing too fancy today, nothing too complicated. If you want to sit up on some height or support under your legs or grab a kitty friend, go ahead and get yourself somewhere comfortable. If you'd rather lie down, you could do that. And then once you get yourself situated, let your hands rest somewhere comfortable. Your arms can just hang from your shoulders. See if you can sit up a little bit taller. And I closed my eyes right away because that's what felt natural and comfortable for me. But you don't have to do that. You can keep your eyes open or find a fixed point somewhere out in front of you to gaze at. Give yourself a couple of big, full breaths all the way in, all the way back out. Couple more. You can keep breathing like this if it's serving you. If there is another breath practice that you'd like to employ or a pranayama technique that works for you, you could come into Ujjayi breath and breathe deep in and out through your nose. You could do a little breath retention if you like to hold the breath at the top of the inhale and the bottom of the exhale. You can just let your breath be in the background and not worry about it at all. We'll take a quick scan of the body. So just from the top of your head down to the bottoms of your feet, bit by bit, piece by piece, just notice your body. Notice your head. Notice your shoulders, your torso, your belly, your pelvis. Notice your legs, your little feet. You might have noticed sensation, tension, emotion. You might have noticed some sense of stuckness, of feeling caught on something, of being resistant to something. And see if you can maybe just offer permission for those places to be as they are. So, something I've noticed in my own body, in my own practice, in my own life, is that when I get stuck, emotionally, physically, mentally, situationally, that there is oftentimes a great desire to change it. Getting stuck is something that traditionally does not feel good, is not productive, isn't where you want to stay. Um, but something I've also learned is that when you resist the state you're in, all you're going to do is get more stuck. Or the stuckness will not start to dissolve or shift in the way it might when instead of getting upset about it, fixated on it, wrapped up in it, if instead we can just breathe a little deeper and let ourselves be as we are. That we don't have to be exactly as we imagine ourselves to be all the time. We don't have to do anything in particular. We don't have to be a particular way. And that in fact, oftentimes stuckness or like getting caught up on something is usually a pathway to a deeper understanding of ourselves. And when we ignore it, when we push it away, when we insist that it changes right away, we're setting ourselves up to suffer more, to resist reality. It just doesn't help. At least it doesn't help me. The idea of radical acceptance, of like from the root of something, accepting that it is the first step in changing something that we want to shift. If I want to change an emotional state, if I want an emotional state to change, getting rigid about it, getting stuck on it, getting fixated on it is actually not going to do that. At least not the way I think it's going to. Today I woke up sad. And the first thought I had about it was, I wish I wasn't so sad. And I don't think that, I mean, it was interesting because I had that thought and I let myself feel it and I sort of like just soaked in it for a minute where I was like, "Oh, I don't want to feel this emotion right now, and it's okay to not want it." And even just that type of acceptance opened the door for um, the emotion to start to shift of like, oh, it's okay that I'm sad. I don't have to be happy all the time. I'm allowed to feel these emotions, and also I'm allowed to loosen my grip on them so that they can shift and change with me. I'm not going to feel like this forever, but I do feel like this right now. And so instead of contracting on a contraction, of getting, fixated on something that feels pokey or spiky or gross, I opened the fist, right? I like let myself expand around my sadness instead of closing in on it deeper. And you know what? I still feel sad, but just in the past couple of hours, just by sitting with it, just by letting myself be as I am, there's more room for more. There's room for other feelings. There's room for my authentic self, the me that has feelings, to take a seat at the table and acknowledge where I am right now. And I think that shows up in the body too. That when we resist what is, it's harder to open to the possibility of what could be. And so if your breath fell to the background while you listened, bring it back to the forefront. And just notice, is there some place in your body that feels stuck? If we're kind of speaking in this esoteric emotional sense, I know like my heart, like the area around my chest and kind of the upper center of my body feels tight. That sad emotion has a physical home that I can become aware of. Maybe it's your knee, maybe it's your head. Maybe it's not a physical place in the body, it's an idea. Maybe it's just pain. Maybe there is a part of your body that does not feel optimal right now. Whatever it is, you're like, it's my whole body, Jesse. I feel that too. But just for a moment, hold some space in your mind's eye as you breathe for whatever you're feeling. Notice if there is a tendency to close in on it, to wrap it up, to look away, which there probably will be. That's like superhuman and normal. Just feel. You might want to say out loud what you're feeling or name the place or the emotion. You might just want to keep it more fluid and away from language. And as you breathe, see if you can expand the space around that part of your body. So for me, as an example, I'm imagining that the space around my heart is almost like glowing and expanding exponentially. It might pulse, it might not be an even expansion. There might just be part of an expansion or a little ray of something poking out. But with every breath, I'm not trying to change it. I'm not trying to transform it. I'm not trying to push it away. I am just envisioning more space around this prickly sensation, this spiky sensation. There's just space for more. Maybe you're already feeling a shift. The shift of what being spacious can offer when we feel stuck. I've been resisting slowing down. I have so many things to do between now and when this tiny person inside of me emerges and uh, takes up a different kind of space in my life. And all it's done by resisting that slowing down is create a friction around the slowness. It's almost like I've created a conflict within myself that there's like a no win. There's a no win. There's no winning. There's no coming out on top of. Because it's just my current reality. Even if I don't want to, I'm slowing down. And so the stuckness isn't the slowing. The stuckness is my attitude around it. The stuckness is in resisting reality. I hope you can apply that to whatever you're feeling in your life, like as an example. Is getting stuck really a matter of perspective? We're not talking about denying what's going on in our lives. We're not talking about pretending things are all good. We're not talking about like spiritually gaslighting ourselves. We're just talking about finding more space to have whatever experience we're having. And so we'll move a little bit here, slowly and gently. And as you move, you might notice there are places that feel stuck. Maybe this is now something a little more physical we can relate to. And instead of rushing through it, pushing through it, trying to change it, I'm going to encourage us to pause when we feel those stuck spots. So first, just drop your chin towards your chest. Keep your shoulders lifted, spine tall, and breathe. This chin tucked position can sometimes feel a little stuck because we're turning into ourselves. The back of the neck and shoulders need a lot of support, so we might feel some physical stuckness. And by the way, if you need to change the way your legs are sitting at any point or how you're sitting at any point, help yourself to that. We're going to start to roll our head side to side by bringing your chin down and over towards one shoulder. You can go back and forth at whatever pace suits you. But when you feel a little twinge or you get to a very sensory rich part of your neck or shoulders or whatever, just take a moment to breathe deep into that sensation of stuckness. It might not, quote unquote, fix anything. In fact, I hope it doesn't right now, I hope that for kind of what we're exploring today's sake, that it just gives you a place to notice what happens when we step back and make more room. When we accept ourselves as we are in the moment we're in, and we invite in the possibility of more. And then when you're ready to come back through center, take a few breaths to scan around your head, neck, and shoulders and just notice what offering space offered back to you. Go ahead, reach your arms up towards the ceiling, as high in the air as you want to go, as wide out to the side as you want to go, and then let them come back down. A few more. If you want, you can link with your breath. Deep inhale to lift, and big exhale to release. You could try the other direction. Hey, don't eat that plant, George. Inhale, arms lift. Exhale, arms release. This time, go ahead and bring your arms up and then twist. Doesn't matter which direction. I'm twisting to the right. So my left hand is on my right thigh. My right hand is behind me. I'm on the bolster, but you could be on the ground or whatever you're sitting on. And you don't have to twist deep. I'm not twisting deep right now. I'm pregnant. I'm thinking about more of like my shoulders opening, but you could go as deep into the twist as you want. You could stay with your left hand on your left leg and just open your chest to the side. Actually, that's what I'm going to keep doing. That feels good. This is a place you might feel some stuckness in your back, in your hips, in your shoulders. Just breathe. Just think about making more space around those sensations. And then exhale. Look forward, unwind. Take a moment to let your body come back through the middle and kind of resituate itself. Give ourselves a big breath in, arms lift again, and then we'll go the other direction. So the twist or the chest opener, however you want to think about it, in the opposite direction. It might not be the same on this side. I actually am feeling good with my hand on the opposite leg here, so I'm just going to stay with it. You can do the same thing or something different. I know for me right now, the place I'm feeling stuck is my breath. So I'm going to try to breathe a little more fully, a little deep, more deeply, a little deeper. Sorry, that was a weird sentence. A few more inhales and exhales. Whew, there's that stuck breath. And then exhale, look forward and unwind. Oh, let your body come back through the center. We'll come up to hands and knees for just a little bit before we lay down. So we're really not going to be doing much today, but we're going to move everything a little bit. This has kind of been what my practice looks like lately. If you've known me for a long time, or if you used to practice with me in the studio, um, I'm sure you know that I like to do quote unquote fun stuff on the mat. um, and this has been what's fun for me lately. So here we go. On all fours, a little tabletop position. We'll start by shifting shoulders over the wrists, making little figure eights. Thanks, George. Your hips can shift around. And then maybe you move into what would be more traditionally known as cat and cow. I like to call them spinal waves. So thinking about the spine as a continuum instead of like stations that we have to check off. Just how can we move everything a little bit? How can we be expansive in our movements here and not just get stuck doing the same things that we always do, the way we always do them? Come back through the middle. We're going to lift the right arm up into the air, push the ground away, open up through the front of your chest, and then we're going to thread the right arm underneath the left one. Excuse me, George. And we're going to bring our head and shoulder all the way down onto the ground or onto something. So I just grabbed a block to put under my head. You could grab a bolster, a pillow. If your cat will let you lay on them, you can lay on your cat. And then I want to encourage you to set yourself up so that you can take 5 to 10 big, deep breaths. Inevitably, something will feel kind of stuck here, whether it's your shoulders. Ow, George, get out of here. You just bit my head. Your shoulders, your hips, your breath, your heart, whatever it is that feels a little stuck. I'm going to start sounding like a broken record here, but just breathe space around it. You don't have to push. You don't have to insist. You don't have to force. Just breathe some space around this shape through your body. Couple more big full breaths. And then very slowly, take your time coming back to hands and knees. You can pause there in tabletop, or you could sit back on your heels with your palms face up for a breath or two. Something neutral, something where you can just watch what's happening. How is there space continuing to get made in your body? Just by observing, just by being here. Not trying to fix it, not trying to change it. And then we'll go the other direction when you're ready. So from tabletop, left hand lifts, reach up, open, and then thread under and through. You may want the same props as the first side. You might want a different position. Set yourself up and then breathe deep. A few more breaths. And then take your time, nice and slow, to unwind. Come back through the center. This time we're going to sit back into a child's pose. Toes together, knees wide apart, hips sit back, and then arms crawl out so your forehead can come down. And if that's not good for your knees or hips, this upright facing child's pose, just sitting back on your heels, is a great place to end up. Couple more breaths. If you want, you could crawl your hands to one side of the mat for a breath or two and then to the other. And just to give your side bodies a little attention. And then come up through hands and knees. And we're going to bring the right foot forward outside of the right hand for a low lizard lunge. So you might want to cushion your back knee with a blanket or a towel. You might want to grab blocks for under your hands. But for this version of low lizard, we're going to let the hips go low and keep the chest up. So versus sometimes we do it with the hips up and the chest and shoulders down. For this one, hips down, chest up. Deep breath. This might not feel ideal. Crunchy, sticky, sensory rich. There might be some anxiety or emotion or thought that comes up. Just let it exist. Don't chase it away. Yes, and that experience. You're like, oh yes, my thigh is tight, and I'm just going to stay and breathe. One more deep full inhale. And then exhale, lift your hips up so that you can straighten your front leg, lift your toes. You want your hips to end up over your knee, depending on what your stance was like. You might have to adjust that. Just a few breaths in a runner's stretch. Get the back of the hamstrings and calves a little attention. Don't overthink it. We're not going to align it. We're just going to breathe. We're just going to let the leg be how it is. And then go ahead, lift yourself up. Get your right leg out of there. Maybe it feels good to shake it out a little bit behind you. And then we'll go the other side. So if you want a child's pose, maybe even a down dog between sides, help yourself. Me, myself, I've slowed down quite a bit. So I'm just going to step my left foot forward. But there is space for anything that might show up in your body. There is no one right way for you to experience yourself or make space for yourself. So when you get your left foot forward, when you get yourself in this low lizard, just let it be how it is and breathe. If there is a specific body part that jumps out at you as needing a little more space, visualize breathing the space around it. almost like a little bubble that gets bigger and bigger around that part of you, physical or otherwise. There is just space for more. We don't have to make what we're feeling less. Couple more breaths. And then shift your hips back. Bring your arms on either side of your front leg and then scoot your front foot forward until you can straighten your knee, lift your toes, and breathe in a runner's stretch. You might notice your brain telling you a story about your leg, about your posture, about what this feels like. And just zoom out a little. Try not to get so contracted on the specifics, and instead find expansion around that you just are, that you are allowed to be all of the ways that you are. When you're ready to, go ahead and crawl on out of there. Again, maybe shake your leg out a little bit. We're coming down onto our backs. So you might want to grab a blanket or a pillow for under your head. I'm actually going to grab this second bolster because I'm not going to move George. It's easier this way. I'm not going to get stuck on wanting that bolster. I'm just going to use a different one. So I'm using my bolster under my knees. You could put a rolled blanket there. You could put blocks under your thighs. You could come into a completely different position than the one I'm coming into. If you've got glasses on, I would recommend taking them off for this last few minutes. But make sure you're comfortable, that you feel like you've got enough support where you need it. Your arms can be on your body, out to the side, wherever they feel most relaxed. Big breath. Just notice yourself here on the ground and see if you can now expand that imaginary bubble around your whole body. That there is more space than it even feels like. You can give yourself more space than you think is possible. And that what you're feeling in your body right now is not forever. That's one thing we can count on in our bodies, in our lives, is change. And so when we get stuck, we're resisting change. We're resisting ourselves. We're resisting our true nature. When we hold ourselves back from experiencing what is, we hold ourselves back from experiencing what might be. We limit what is undoubtedly an infinite human experience. And one more time, give yourself a scan from head to toe. This time, as you notice each part of your body, imagine it getting heavier and heavier into the ground. Almost like you were melting into yourself. Like the edges of where you end and the rest of the world begins get a little less defined, just for a little while. Just within that protective bubble that we've given ourselves to expand into. Eventually, you'll get down all the way into the bottoms of your feet and out through your fingertips. With every exhale, we get heavier and heavier into the ground, into the props or whatever we're sitting on. And we'll take a minute or so to just rest and breathe. And notice yourself here again. Notice your breath moving through your body and your body here on the ground. You don't have to move, especially because you're home, wherever you are in the world. You can just stay here if this is working. If you want, you can start to wiggle your fingers and toes. Take up some space, some literal physical space here. Maybe by stretching out long, reaching or moving. You can start to roll over to your, well, whatever side. I'm going to roll to my left side. Pregnancy stuff. You can roll over whichever way you want, but just take a moment to pause on the ground on your side. And offer yourself some gratitude, some appreciation for just offering yourself space, especially if it was hard to take the offering, to accept the idea that you deserve to take up space. Maybe just a little thank you for taking a few minutes to check in, move your body and breath and brain a little. Use your hands on the floor to press yourself up. And find an easy seated position, either on props or off of them. Maybe gather up your cat friend for the last minute here. You're fine. Come here. Okay, George, okay. What does it feel like to be in your body now? And you don't even have to have an answer. In fact, that's a question we get to ask ourselves over and over and over again, anytime we'd like, anytime we need, especially when we feel stuck. Instead of getting fixated on a singular point or experience or perspective, how can we zoom out? How can we make space for things to shift and change the way they naturally and inevitably do? What does it feel like to just accept what you're feeling as you are, knowing it's not permanent? One more deep breath all the way in, and then big breath all the way out. Thank you all so much for checking in with yourselves, with me today. I hope you have an awesome rest of whatever day it is for you. Um, and I'll see you soon. Heal yourselves. Bye. Good job, George.